So you are host now, Naresh. At the bottom, there should be a screen share. So you can give access to him.
Done. Venkat, can you try now?
All right. Yes, I can. Thank you.
Awesome. So everyone, Venkat is my colleague, and I have known Venkat for a long, long time. And he's a leadership coach. Also, he teaches people how to improve their memory. And I think Venkat can do a better justice to what exactly he does by presenting today. But I'll hand over to him so that we don't spend time in introductions, but actually learn some techniques. Venkat, over to you.
Thank you, Naresh. Thank you so much. I guess it's been a long day for you guys, and a lot of you must have come back from work or working at home itself, and must be tired. And it's great to see so many people actually keen on learning something new at 7 p.m. on a Thursday evening. And I just wanted to start by saying that whatever space you are in, that's absolutely fine. And I applaud you for the effort you've taken in improving or learning something new today. So a little bit more about me. I've been on this journey to understand the secret of mind for many years. I've used some of these techniques, which I teach today in my board exam to get in All India Rank 3. But at that stage, I didn't have any strategies or structures. It was just some things I picked up. And I had memorized, in fact, the whole history book in which I was an All India topper. Now, this seems like ages ago, and I then dropped that habit and life happened. But over a period of time, I have actually had the opportunity to interact with a lot of memory experts and learn a lot of good techniques and strategy from them. And what I realized during this course of the journey is that basically, if you look at me, I'm basically one of the most absent-minded persons you could ever find. There are stories where once my mother asked me to buy a list of 5 things from the grocery store. I came back with 4 of the 5 things, as if I could not remember the 5th thing, which she had asked me to. And not only that, I had forgotten my bicycle at home, bicycle at the shop, and also forgotten to collect the change from the shopkeeper. So there are instances where I've actually forgotten my wallet in many places. Now, many of you might relate to this. And they will say that as Raj Uncle said, as you grow old, you tend to lose your memory. Well, I'm going to burst that myth in a few minutes. But I also was starting to believe that during the course of my life. But what I realized is that by doing this training, I have actually developed the capability to stop forgetting and operate in a way where I have an enhanced memory. And I have developed strategies and techniques where I don't need to forget anything anymore. And that's what I'm gonna, a part of it, I'm gonna impart to you guys today, and hopefully it will be of value. And as Naresh said, I'm also a leadership coach and also a serial social entrepreneur. Now, how I do my training normally is that I do it over 7 workshops, which are like 45 minutes to 1 hour each. And in that, I not only focus on memory training, which is what most memory experts do, I also focus on focus training. And I'll come back to that in a minute. Why focus? And then I dedicate 3 sessions for customized learning and applications of the memory training in your own life. So overall, I impart the whole program in 10 1 hour, 45 minutes to 1 hour sessions. So this one is the first session that I normally run, which basically encompasses bits of what you learn through the 10 sessions, but it focuses on something very particular. Now, this is how my course structure looks like. There is an aspect of focusing on focus, where I talk to a bit about your mind, why is focus important, and how do you actually focus, and have fun with mind gyms, learn how to learn, and how to actually get a brain which is almost like a photographic imprint, almost like a photographic memory, and how do you amplify your focus. In terms of memories, it's all about strategies and techniques, And some of the key things I talk about are the 3 R's of memory, which I will train today, and also the fill system, which I have developed. There's a few things around the Palace method, number phonetics, number pegs, names and faces, which is one of the biggest things we suffer with. We don't know how to remember names. We can remember faces. If you walk on the street and say, oh, I've seen this guy somewhere, but what is his name? You don't know. So those are some of the things where you can improve at during this training. And also one of the most essential aspects which we all need to learn is how to actually read fast and memorize. Imagine going through a whole book of like 500 pages in less than 30 minutes and still be able to remember everything that the book says. So those are some of the techniques I teach. And lastly, with a combination of focus and memory, I look at how do you apply that in your day-to-day life, like remembering grocery lists, remembering long strings of words and numbers. And some of the other key applications are becoming a mathematic genius. So I actually train how people can do 2-digit and 3-digit multiplications in their head. Now, these are absolutely essential if you're working in corporate jobs, or if you're a student starting to learn about new mathematics, how you can apply that in various aspects, doing algebra or trigonometry much more easily than you could normally do. And of course, the other things around remembering names and faces and how you can apply that to some maybe silly things like remembering a deck of cards and in any order. So I can remember a deck of cards in 8 minutes. So it takes me 8 minutes to flick through a deck of cards and remember the cards in the same order and recall it. The superpower memory experts can actually do that in 20 seconds. So I'm not that great an expert yet, but I know how they do it. Then you can learn new languages with ease. You can learn technical terms. That's some of the things we suffer with on a day-to-day basis. How do you actually, the moment we see technical jargon, we almost get shy or afraid of it. So those are some of the things which I train in getting confidence with and starting to love those things when you can actually learn and apply them much more easily than how you can. So let's get down to the session. So this is all about the course I train in. I have a poor memory is a myth, right? If an average person starts learning 10 words a second from the time they are born till they die, they will still have about 50% of the brain capacity left. So if I were to ask anyone normally, and I've over the course of my training, I've asked so many people, what's your, how do you rate your memory? If I were to say that 1 being that you have an absolutely poor memory, and 10 being that you have the capability to remember anything, almost like a photographic memory, how would you, what would you rate your memory as? Most people have come back with a few numbers. Can I ask people here to put in the chat what you believe your memory is? I'll give you like 15, 20 seconds to do that. All right, Naresh has said 6, Seema 5, great. Anu 6, Ashok 4, okay. Deepa is 6, great. All right, so most people are ranging between 4 to 6, which is absolutely consistent with what I have received from all my previous training. Now, my job here is to convince you by the end of the session that it's not a 6, it's a 10. It's not a 4, it's a 10. So, and let's progress to the sessions, and we will take a poll again at the end of the session, and I'll ask you the same question again, whether you believe that your memory capability is 4 or a 6 or a 10. So
how to improve your memory, a class
some questions to test your memory. For this, I need a volunteer. Can I ask for someone to volunteer with me and work with me on this?
हमारे हेल्थ डिस्ट्रिक्ट समाज के व्हाट्सएप के लिंक है, देख लीजिए, टेक्सटाइल साहब भी हैं और
sorry, could I get a volunteer? Or maybe Naresh?
Hello?
If no one else is taking volunteership, I'll take it.
All right. Okay. Naresh, thanks. So tell me a bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a numbers person. I'm an accountant.
Yeah.
So definitely remembering numbers help me. You know, when someone asks me about the results of the month,
Yeah.
it's really handy if I can say, yes, this is where we landed and this is what the profit and losses were.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I do in my daily life.
Great. Okay. So where did you do your schooling?
I did my schooling in India and college as well as my chartered accountancy in India.
Okay. And where did you do your year 7 specifically? Which city?
That's pretty easy. I did it in Agra. That's my home.
Agra. Nice. And how far did you live from your school?
When I was in high school, probably 1 kilometer,
Okay. Great. And did you walk every day to school?
pretty much.
All right. So what do you remember about the journey from your home to your school every day?
Well, what I remember fondly is the rainy days when school is finished and I would come back home getting wet because you don't care about getting wet when you're in India. You just go home, right? Especially
Yeah.
when you're.
And what do you remember particularly about the journey? What things did you see? What did you notice? What?
I think I can still remember that it was partly a residential area and a partly, well, a middle section was the bazaar. So I would remember the number of shops there and the people, traffic
Yeah.
as well.
Great. And do you still remember some key people you have seen, some colors you have seen, some smells you have smelled?
Yeah, so I think I would say my memory is slightly on the side of photogenic. So I clearly remember the images, but
Yeah.
not smells, probably not the sounds.
That's great. And if you say your memory is photogenic, you shouldn't have ranked yourself sixth then.
Well, it's a combined score.
But the thing is, if I ask the same question to anybody in this group, they would all remember very vividly the journey from their home to the school. Okay. And thanks for working with me, Naresh. I'll call upon you later again for assisting me with another bit I have later in the piece.
Yeah.
So if the fact is that it has been quite a few years since you passed your year 7, but you still remember so vividly your journey from your home to school, including the sights, the sound, the smell, the noise, everything you remember, then why do people, that means that your memory your brain has actually retained everything that you have felt and experienced during that period. And that's happened ages ago. I'm not saying you're old. I'm just saying that it happened a long time ago. So your memory still is really, really retentive. So it's retained everything. So why is it that people still say that your memory is poor? The key answer that is that it is focus, right? So, and we'll come back to about it later as I start explaining to you why focus is the key reason that you feel that your memory is poor, but it's not memory itself. Let's talk a little bit about the physiology or the biology of how memory works, right? Now, this is your brain, and your brain consists of neurons, and your brain gets input of the first order from your sight, smell, touch, taste, sound, etc. Now, the fact is that 80% of your input, brain input, is in the form of sight. Now, you also get higher order inputs in the form of emotions, thoughts, feelings, behavior, and extrasensory. Now, what happens is that as the brain gets inputs, the neurons start triggered and they start activating and forming bonds with other neurons to form memories. Now, the synapses that they are formed are stronger when your order of inputs is increasing. For example, if you have a sight and a smell and emotions mixed with it and it forms one input, that forms a much more stronger synaptic bond than just one input by itself. And that's why when we are younger, we are said that if you want to remember something, you write, because when you're writing, you actually are using your sight and also your touch, and you're also feeling something as you're writing. So it's like 3 orders of input that are going in which are making the synaptic bonds stronger, and your memory becomes stronger and stronger. And as we are asked to repeat everything that we are doing or saying, and that's because with repetition, it's like you're walking for the first time in a forest, right? And there's no trail there. And you walk one time, and your footprints make some sort of an impression on the grass or on the ground underneath the forest floor. But as you keep repeatedly walking that trail back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you actually make a footpath there. You actually make a trail which never goes away. There's no grass, it's a proper trail. Memory is exactly like that. And that's how we have been trained. And that's helps form the synaptic bonds stronger and stronger and stronger, and they remain. So as you were walking from your home to school every day, you remembered, you saw everything, and that imprinted on your memory stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, your brain has got different portions, like you've got the frontal lobe, which is all responsible for problem solving. It's got the parietal lobe, which is about sensation and reading. You have and other parts of the brain. But the key part of the brain that I want you to understand is the hippocampus. Now, it sits in something called the temporal lobe, which is responsible for understanding language, behavior, memory, hearing, etc. But the role of hippocampus is basically to convert your short-term memory, which is your short-term synapses, to long-term memory. And the hippocampus actually makes sure that the bonds are becoming stronger and stronger. And so it makes us emotions, it makes us all the senses, and forms stronger bonds, and then helps form behavior as response to the stimuli that you get. Now, enough about the biology and the physiology. I'm sure that people are getting a little bit tired of, all right, where is this going, right? I want to learn something more. I want to learn more about how does memory actually, what's the process of memory, and how do you train your memory? So there's basically 3 R's of memory. You have to register, you have to retain, and you have to recall. Now, when I was young, my dad actually got me to sit down and remember my multiplication tables. He wanted me to retain, and I had to do like 1 ones are 1, 2 twos are 2, 3 threes are 9, 4 fours are 16, and I had to do that repeatedly again and again and again, hoping that I will retain it in my head. And if I didn't retain it, I'll get a knock on my head and say, you need to learn how to retain. And I didn't know how to retain. I didn't have any strategies to retain. I was just like training just to retain. Well, the surprising fact is that retention for memory needs the least amount of effort. The effort you actually need to put into to make a long-lasting memory is in fact to register and also to recall. So register is, you need to develop strategies on how do you actually input the information into your brain. How do you actually see something and convert it in a way where you can actually recognize it, your brain recognizes it, and you can actually retain it in your brain for a longer time. And then recall is much more important, because whatever you have input, you got to recall it. They say that you lose 70% of your memory in the first 24 hours of having remembered something or visualized or participated in something. So if you lose 70% the first day, and then another 20% the next day, another 10% the following day, you wouldn't remember anything next week of what happened today. So recall is absolutely important, because once you recall, you improve your chances of retention by another 20% the next day. So that's basically your process of how you form memories. And we'll come back to this in a few minutes again. Just some fun facts here. Albert Einstein his brain was about 17% bigger, or it had 17% more neurons than an average human brain. And if you look at how many neurons we have about 100 billion neurons in our brain. If he had 17% more, you can imagine the kind of genius he was. So just to divert from the main topic. Now comes the crux of the matter here. We're going to talk about something very different. I'm going to just stop and say, look, we've learned about the physiology of the brain. We have learned about the process of how memory is formed, but we have not touched on it deeper. And we're going to go into it a little bit more deeper. And I'm going to take a slightly tangential approach from what the physics of the world or the biology of the world today is going to say. So let's talk about the mind. Now, bear with me for a second when I walk you through the concept of the mind. For me, mind is like the soul of your brain. So imagine that you have a soul for your body. Mind is like the soul for your brain. Okay. Now, mind actually speaks the language of visuals. So from the time of hunter-gatherers, people have actually learned from visuals. They didn't have a language at that time. They didn't have the notion of numbers or words. It was all visuals for them. And that's evident from the pictures or the hieroglyphics, in fact, which came across as the first kind of words the humankind was using in the early years. Now, it is hard to memorize in school when you're given a textbook to read or maths problems to solve, because your mind is not processing those words or your numbers. The mind is actually craving for visuals to see, all right, where is the visuals? And that's why kids love to see comic strips or read graphic novels, because they are much more visually appealing, and the mind can actually synthesize that information easily. And that's why people say a picture is worth 1,000 words. But a picture is worth actually much more, because you can actually gain a lot more from an image than from the words. The beauty about this, of course, is that mind also follows the path of least resistance. And we'll talk about this in a minute. Your mind is one of the most brilliant tools which is available there. It is by default organizing and categorizing everything in your head. Now, even when you're sitting silent, it is always thinking about something and parking something there. It's analyzing, it's organizing, it's doing its own work, right? You let a mind free, it'll go and unleash the world out for you. But the thing is that mind can only focus on one thing voluntarily at a time. So you can't force, if you want to force your mind to think about something, so imagine that your mind is something, it's like a special soul of your mind, of your brain, right? So it's, if you want to get your mind to focus on something voluntarily, it can only do one thing at a time. And that's what's focus, right? But involuntarily, it is actually absorbing everything, and it is it's organizing, creating, it's doing all its wonders. At the same time, another thing to know about the mind is that it just wants to have fun. If you give it too much of a hard work, it's going to shy away, and it's going to distract you, and it's going to become egotistic, and it's going to do everything in its path to make you fail. So and that's why if you come home tired, and if you're basically trying to maybe do some work done, say look at your bank statements and organize your financial accounts, your mind's going to say, oh, I'll leave it, I just want to go and watch Netflix. It actually comes in the way of your success many times, because it doesn't want to do the hard work. It takes the path of least resistance. But at the same time, if you feed your mind a little bit of ego and say that, hey, it's doing absolutely brilliant, and give it a little bit of taste of success, it will actually devour that success and get you and push you and nudge you to become better and better and better. So with that, let's get down to some activity now, all right? And enough of my monologue. I just wanted to lay the context of the physiology of the brain, how memory is formed, concept of the mind, and let's get down to the crux of the matter and get to do some exercise. And have some fun at the same time. It's just not exercise. Now, here's a list of 10 words, okay? I'm going to give all of you, say, 2 minutes to remember these in the same exact order. So yeah, I'll get you to do that now, but I also need a volunteer to work with me through this exercise. And don't be afraid, it's absolutely brilliant. It's fine. You can have fun at the same time.
I think a lot of people are scared of participating.
Are they?
Okay, if there's no one, I'll volunteer.
I can be volunteer. I can be volunteer.
Thanks. Is that Suman or Dimple who spoke up?
Dimple,
Sorry.
Dimple.
Dimple. Hi, Dimple. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. So yeah, I'll give you 2 minutes to just absorb this and see if you can remember this. And it's okay. And let's see how many words you can get remember.
Sure. I'm ready.
You're ready? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's give it a try.
Okay. Tire, burger,
Yeah.
house, rocket,
Yeah.
tongue,
Yeah.
strawberry, cow,
Yeah.
pie, shrike, and hoodie.
Wow. You've got a really, really good memory. How did you do
No, I
that?
actually don't have a good memory. That's why I'm here. But I used your thing of visualization. So I visualized each word and then compared, like tire round with compared with burger round, and just tried and compared. And then I remembered.
That's very nice. That's brilliant. Okay.
Dimple, it's
Now,
still on the screen.
sorry.
It's still on the screen.
I brought it up back again. I thought it was blanked out in between. Okay, maybe I just left it on the screen.
Yeah, I just
I
left it on
actually
the
closed
screen.
my eyes.
I trust you. I trust you. That's fine.
Yeah.
But can you? Okay. Can you? Is it still on the screen now?
Yeah, it's still on the screen.
Okay. I have actually hidden the show, but that's fine. Let me see if I give you another test here. All right. Is the screen share stopped now?
Yes.
Yes, it has stopped now.
All right. Can you do it in the reverse order?
Okay. Hoodie, shrike, pie, cow, strawberry, tongue, rocket, house, burger, tire.
Wow. I am very impressed. I'm really, really impressed by what you're doing. This is absolutely brilliant. It's the first participant who's actually done all the 10 in a straight order and a reverse order.
Oh wow,
But-
thank you.
So you shouldn't be saying that you have a poor memory. You have a brilliant memory.
I'm always very much distracted. I can't focus on one thing.
Anyways, I'm going to teach you a technique where you can remember not just 10, but 20, 30, 40, 50, how many ever big a list you have. You can remember this in any order, front ways or backwards. Okay.
Okay.
So this is a method called the fills method. And you're absolutely right. It's the visuals that you need to come up with visuals. So the beauty of this is that you have to create a funny image of the word, and it should be colorful. It should be in motion. It should be strange, almost like a cartoon. Like how do you remember a Tom and Jerry cartoon, right? It should be almost like that. And then
Hello.
you link it to the next one, next word, and create a story out of that. So we'll work through this in the example which we have been doing. Okay. So
Venkat, I'm sorry to interrupt you. My friend is trying to get in. Do we have a password for this link?
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
password. I think it was 877385.
Thank you. 877385. I'll remember. Thank you.
You've got a good memory too, Suman. All right. So tire plus burger, right? So the way we do it using the fills method is you create a funny image. So it's like you imagine a tire in a burger and somebody trying to eat it. So it's colorful. It's creating some emotion. It's crazy. It's something. The thing is, it should be strange. It shouldn't be normal. So then your memory will be much more powerful because you've visualized it. It's very out of the world. It's not normal. I think that's the trick here. So let's say you've associated tire and burger, right? So are you with me?
Yeah, I am.
All right, cool. The next one, you have burger and house. So you're imagining, say, a house in a burger and you're about to eat it. Okay. And that's something which doesn't happen on every day. It's strange. You can visualize it. Then you have house and a rocket. Okay. Now, if you see what we are doing here, we are not creating a full story. right? We are creating a story just between the two different words. Because if you start creating a full story, your brain will get overloaded. And that's the trick about your mind, that you have to give it little chunks that it feels the success. So break it into little pieces, so little stories, house in a rocket. You've seen the visual in your head and you can forget it now. Then you go on to the next one, say a rocket and tongue. So it's like a rocket coming out of your tongue. And you visualize that and you forget it. Okay. Now, what can you say about tongue plus strawberry? This is one visual. What do you get in your head when you visualize tongue and strawberry?
Eating, like putting strawberry on tongue.
Ah, good. Strawberry on tongue. But is that something that happens normally?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
So maybe come up with something that's more strange than normal.
Makes sense. Something like this. Yes.
Yeah, something like this. Or it could be almost like your tongue is walking away from your mouth and landing on a strawberry.
Okay.
And then a strawberry and a cow. Okay. Or it could be like the cow is sitting on a big strawberry. So that's another visual that you can work with.
Yeah.
And then you have a cow and a pie. So it could either look like this, or it could be a cow coming out of a pie. So it's strange, it's colorful, it's ambiguous, it's very maybe creepy, and that works. Something that makes you afraid, that also is fine. Okay.
Yeah.
And pie and a Shrek. So imagine a Shrek waddling away in a pie. And a Shrek and a hoodie. Okay. Or a Shrek wearing a hoodie, or a hoodie actually jumping on a Shrek. So something that's out of the world. And when you start visualizing these images, one thing that is happening is that your brain is actually having fun, because it's actually coming up with much more creative thoughts. It is telling you that, hey, I'm actually enjoying this because it's letting me unleash. Your brain is almost unleashed from your real world, and you're going into a world which doesn't exist, and you start creating new stuff. It starts to enjoy, starts to link, and then when you are given the task of actually going through that whole thing again, one after another, the visuals start coming back to you. Okay. And that's the Phil's method, basically. Now, I don't have to train you this, because you're absolutely brilliant. You remember this frontways and backwards. But this could help you with, say, 20 words or 30 words or 40 words that you want to go through.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. So that's something I wanted to share with you guys today. So if you look at what we have done over the how many minutes have passed? Like 35 or 35 odd minutes. We have gone through and understood what the mind does, how the mind is actually your biggest friend as well as your biggest evil. And it can actually work in your favor or against you, depending on how you tend to boost its ego. Then it can work against all odds to make your success. And mind speaks the language of visuals. So anything you do, you convert it into visuals. And that's the same for numbers. So the way I train with numbers is that how do you convert them into visuals that you can see, associate them with sounds and pieces of information that you can store away in your head. So you can remember phone numbers easily. You can remember, like how Naresh was saying, that he can remember numbers quite easily. And that's because he's trained himself to remember the numbers. But Naresh, if you could apply some of the techniques around visualizing the numbers, you could even become, you can remember the entire P&L of the teams you're managing, or the accounts you're managing, without a problem at all. So the other things which we learned today is about the 3 R's, about registration, retention, and recall. And we also trained a little bit about how to basically focus. Now, in my further sessions, I actually look at what are some of the focus stealers that distract you, and how you can bring your focus back, and how you can use that to your advantage to almost generate a photographic memory. So with that, I'm going to stop. I've had a lot of monologue here, and I just wanted to take questions and see what else people would like to learn from and also give feedback.
Thank you, Venkat. I think it's a very useful session. And can you give one or two examples of how to associate the numbers with the visuals, you know?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So maybe let me bring up another presentation of mine that will help you. Yeah, let me just bear with me. So this is a session I run for training people in numbers. So what I do is basically associate a number with a consonant. Now I have developed this around the Hindi consonants and vowels. So the way it works is that for every number, there is a consonant associated with it. So for example, 1 is t or d, right? And 2 is na. Like you remember it by we have 2 knees, so na, 2 is na. 3 is ma, like your ma. 4 is ra, like rai. Then 5 is la, like law. And 6 is sh, ch, j, exactly like how it's pronounced in Hindi. Then 7 is ka, ga. 8 is fa, va. 9 is pa, ba. And 0 is sa, za. So just to summarize, that's how it looks. Now, the beauty of that is that every number is a consonant sound. And in between every consonant, you can add any amount of vowels. For example, 1 could be ta, tie, tea, to, toy, hat, do, day, die, all right? Similarly, M could be ma, mo, yam, may, me. Now, how this works, if I go a little bit further, so let's say you have a number 1, 3 to remember. Now, 1 is ta or da, and 3 is ma. So I will make a word dam, and I visualize a dam, right? So whenever I come up with the number 13, I will visualize a dam. And I say, okay, so there's a dam there. So I remember license plate numbers like that. I remember the other day Naresh's phone number, which I think I still remember in a similar fashion. So then it was, let's say 2-8, right? So I make it, 2 is na, and 8 is fa or va. So I can make it knife, or I can make it knave. So that's how it works. You can make it for 3 letters also. For example, 351 is ma, la, da. So I can say my lady, and I'll remember 351. So I think that gives you a taste of how numbers can be converted into phonetics, and then you can actually start visualizing the numbers. Now you can remember 8-digit, 10-digit. So I can remember up to 100 digits. I haven't tried beyond that. So I can remember 100 digits and repeat it backwards, forwards, any which way you want using this. So the way I do it is that I use this number phonetics, convert that into phonetics and visuals, and then I link the visuals using the fill system, which I worked through with you guys before. So, and I link 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 by 1, and I would do say 40 to 50 links. But there's another system which I have to employ in the 40 to 50, because you can't make 40 to 50 links and remember all the links. So there is another method called Palace method, where you actually position a certain group of things in a certain place, and you remember it in that order. Does that give you a sense of how it works?
Venkat, looks like a lot of work. Does it get easier after you have done it a few times, or?
It's actually very, very easy. If your mind's resisting you, Naresh, right now, it's very easy. Once you start practicing it and you start enjoying it, it becomes easier and easier and easier. And the beauty of this is that this helps you do your 3-digit multiplications or 4-digit multiplications in your head. Like you don't have to wait for getting a calculator and working your numbers out. It comes like this after that. After you have the only effort you require is in remembering these things. Basically, what does 1 stand for? What does 2 stand for? And how you convert it one to another. That's the only effort it takes to develop. But once you have sort of trained in that, which is what I get people to train in the sessions I have, then you can actually do wonders with this. And this is exactly what, so my trainer was actually a Guinness Book record holder, and he can remember 2,000 digit numbers front to back, back to front. And he does that so easily. And even I am amazed how he does that. I know the techniques, but it takes some dedication to get there. But of course, he's a professional. He does this for a living. And for people like me and you who just want to improve memory, who want to get rid of our absent-mindedness, who want to work on organizing our life in such a way that we never forget anything that we see or hear. These are small techniques actually go a long way in building our life in a much more focused manner. Does that help, Naresh?
Venkat, I have a question here.
Sure.
You mentioned that you should be able to read a book of say 500 pages and be able to remember that.
Yes.
What sort of technique will you use for that?
So there is, so as part of my focus training, I basically have come up with a way where you can capture information very quickly. So reading a book of 500, the way you work through it is an aspect of how you can focus on the things you want to focus on in a time-bound way, and how you can actually get your mind to do the work for you rather than you thinking that it's a big effort to put in it. And the thing to learn here is that your mind is a brilliant piece of machinery which will adapt if it gets thrown a challenge. And a simple thing which I can get you to do today, if you want to get down that path, is open a book, put a bookmark on how many pages you want to actually learn or remember, and put a time limit. So if you want to do that, do say 50 pages in 5 minutes. Okay, put a bookmark at the 50th page. And then the first thing you do is read through the contents quickly and absorb as much as you can, understand briefly in the first 1 minute, what is it all about, the first 50 pages. Then flick through the book and look at the headings. What does the heading say? And quickly understand in the next 1 minute, what does the heading mean? Then start formulating a questions in your head. Okay, what does it mean? What does it mean? Start asking those questions. In the third and the fourth minute, start answering those questions by digging deep into the topics you didn't understand. By the fifth minute, you would have already absorbed 70 to 80% of the first 50 pages, right? So that's a small technique, but when you go through this focus and memory training, imagine that your mind is like a super computer, right? It can store anything. What most of us don't have is the focus. Our focus is like a little HDMI cable that's plugged into this giant supercomputer. So the information that's going in is only bite size. Now you need to expand the way you focus. And that's what I do through this training, where you can actually have a much more enhanced focus. So your absorption rate is much higher. Rather than reading 10 words a minute, you will be reading like 100 words a minute or 200 words a minute.
Thanks for that.
Any other questions, guys?
Hi, Venkat. It was really interesting, actually, especially the breaking the code was quite fun, you know, the one you have just showed on the screen.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you something. You know how they talk about the left side brain and the right side brain?
Yes.
Now, if one side of the brain is strong, is
Yes.
it a possibility? You know how they say the creative and the logical brains?
Yes.
So do you think with these kind of activities, you can enhance your other side of the brain if someone has got like a left side brain stronger than the right-hand side? Is that a possibility?
That's a very brilliant question, right? So your right side brain is normally associated with creativity, and your left side brain is associated with logical reasoning. That's what I have read and I have understood. Now, the way this basically helps with your logical reasoning, right? And at the same time, the visualization aspect gets you to do more creative thinking. But what actually helps your development of So see, what's happened from our, especially in the Indian growth phase, is that we have been asked to, or we have been trained to write with the right hand. Even lefties are pushed to write with the right hand,
Yeah.
right? And that's 95% of the households have pushed people to write with the right hand, thinking that we are trying to develop the logical reasoning power of our child. But in that process, what's happened is that we have lost some of our creativity. So what I actually say to people is that if you want to improve your creativity, start using your left hand a lot more, so that your right part of the brain, which is connected to the left part of your body, starts becoming more active and engaged. And by using your left part of the brain, your left part of the body, which is left hand. So simple things like write for using your left hand, or start picking up things using your left hand rather than your default right hand. That actually helps build your creative brain a lot more. Of course, these exercises are like, they're not focused on developing a right or left brain, but they eventually lead that way because they help build your creativity a lot more and your visualization and your imaginative power, but they don't effectively, they're not focused on developing your right brain. So yeah, there are other exercises you can do by utilizing your left part of the body to develop your creative part more.
That's great. Thank you so much, Venkat.
No worries, my pleasure. I'm conscious we are at time, so if there are, I'm open for feedback and any other questions.
Can I, yeah, Raghav, yeah. Can I just ask you?
Yes.
This is, I mean, I'm checking with you, is there science behind? I did medicine, but in the initial few years, studying in the evening was not so productive. But once I started studying, say, early morning from 3:30 onwards, the whole thing actually changed. So I spent actually much lesser time absorbing all those that I had to learn. Is there any science behind it?
Yes, in fact, there is. So I think it is, I don't think, like, I believe that it is driven by a few factors, right? So I call that there are certain things, as I said, if you want to remember something, you need, your memory is there, you need focus. Now, for focus to work effectively, there are a few things which you need to get rid of. And I call this the theta, which is the stress, you need your emotions, you need your energy, which is your bodily energy, you need your time and your attention. Normally during the evening periods, what happens is that your theta is weak because your theta is likely to get hijacked very fast because one, you have so much happening around you, especially around 6, 7 p.m. in the evening, there's a lot of activity. You don't have the attention span. You don't have the energy because you're tired from the day. You don't have, your emotions are wrought from the aspects of the day. There's a few things that are going on which are stealing your focus, which are hijacking your theta. Now, what happens in the morning effectively is that you are devoid of all those things. Your body is fresh because it's got up, it's energized. You have no, your attention is focused because it's intact, because there's not much noise or there's not much noise around. And on top of that, there is also the, this is something which I was told, that the ozone actually comes down in the early part of the morning. And ozone is much more a stronger neurostimulator and a brain food than oxygen itself. So if you take a little walk in the morning and then you absorb the fresh ozone, or not ozone as such, but the more fresher oxygen, your brain is energized and it's able to absorb a lot more than it could normally do. That's my logic anyways, but I'm open to be challenged. I'm not a medical professional. It's just what I have picked up.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, now it does work. I mean, at least for me, it worked very well. And since then, very early in my life, I started doing that. So it's helped me a lot through all these years of doing stuff. So it's definitely helpful.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same way for me too, actually. I am also a morning person.
Hey, Venkatesh, Ashok here.
Hi, Ashok.
I think what you've given is a bit of a teaser.
Yes.
What do we need to do to let's say, learn more of these techniques? How do we go to the next step?
So I can organize one-on-one sessions with you guys. So I normally charge $50 a session, but for this group, I'm happy to offer a discount for $30 a session for 45 minutes to 1 hour. And over a period of 10 sessions, we can work through all these things. And it depends on the learning power of different individuals. Also for kids, it takes a little bit longer because they need to be taught through this a lot more slowly than I can do this for adults. There is also, I think that's what it'll take.
Thank you very much. So is it possible to leave your contact details somewhere in this group so we can contact you? Please?
Absolutely. So I can share it in the chat, or I can, email it across to you guys, whichever way works.
I will put Venkat your details in the group.
Thank you. Thanks, Naresh.
Thank you.
Venkat, I think we'll add you in the group actually.
I would love to. I would love to be engaged with the group. Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll get benefit. Both of us will get benefit out of that. Thank you.
My pleasure. It's been great knowing you all, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present here. I really enjoyed interacting with you all.
Thanks, Venkat. That's really good. So yeah, you're always welcome. So whenever you want, you're most welcome to give us a general feedback.
Sure. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you, Venkat. Thanks for coming on and providing these insightful new techniques. I'm sure everybody has not only enjoyed it, but taken away some from it. So
I hope so.
Really
Thanks, Venkat. Thanks all.
Thank you, Venkat, and look forward to talking to you again.
All right. Thank you all. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.